Good morning, everyone. I'm Emily Jashinsky, host of After Party and the Megyn Kelly Wrap-Up Show on SiriusXM Channel 111. It's Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, and this is your AM update. Dark new details revealed about the murders of Hollywood legend Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle.
This is a very active investigation, very complex investigation.
Providence, Rhode Island, releasing new images of a possible suspect in the Brown University shooting.
The defendants are all radical anti-government members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front.
A left-wing extremist group accused of plotting a New Year's Eve attack in Los Angeles. And the jockeying for the 2028 Democrat primary begins with Kamala Harris at the center of it. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM Update.
I've been talking a lot about Riverbend Ranch because I love their steaks. This holiday season, express your love with a very special gift of premium steaks from Riverbend Ranch. They have spectacular beef bundles that are wonderful gifts to friends and family. Their prime rib roast and holiday bundles are only available while supplies last, and they are going fast. For the last 35 years, Riverbend Ranch has been creating an elite Angus herd by using ultrasound technology to identify genetically superior cattle with a focus on flavor and tenderness. All Riverbend Ranch cattle are born and raised in the USA. They never use growth hormones or antibiotics, and the beef is processed right at the ranch in their award-winning USDA-inspected processing facility. Avoid the costly middlemen because the beef is sent directly from Riverbend Ranch to your home. This is not your average Black Angus beef. Order from riverbendranch.com. Use the promo code Megyn for $20 off your first order, and let me know what you think. That's riverbendranch.com, promo code Megyn.
New details emerging on the grisly murder of director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner. The couple discovered with their throats slit and stab wounds at their Brentwood mansion on Sunday afternoon by their 28-year-old daughter, Romy. According to TMZ, Romy telling people her brother, 32-year-old Nick Reiner, was, quote, dangerous and should be considered a suspect. The LAPD saying Nick was arrested around 9:15 p.m. on Sunday night. His whereabouts from that moment and the alleged murders unclear at this time. Bail originally set at $4 million, but authorities later saying he is being held without bail. Investigators say the case will be handed to the LA County District Attorney's Office today, where charging decisions will be made. Nick reportedly struggling with addiction and behavioral issues from a young age. He is currently being held at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility, a jail with extensive mental health facilities. President Trump on Monday drawing negative feedback from even his own MAGA base after posting a critical comment about Reiner on Truth Social. Mr. Trump doubling down yesterday from the Oval.
A number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all, in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country.
Law enforcement officials in Providence, Rhode Island, releasing new images they believe show the Brown University shooting suspect. Yesterday evening, authorities releasing 3 videos and 2 images showing what appears to be a husky male wearing a dark beanie, pants, jacket, and gloves with a black COVID-era face mask. The images recorded around 2 p.m. on Saturday, just hours prior to the shooting, near the scene of the crime. Investigators in Providence seen going door to door yesterday, searching for any digital evidence that might have captured the Brown University shooting suspect. Agents also seen fanning across lawns, kicking through snow several blocks from the scene of the shooting, appearing to look for any evidence that may have been dropped leaving the scene. At a briefing yesterday, officials including Mayor Brett Smiley, Rhode Island Governor Daniel McKee, and Chief of Police Oscar Perez insisting they are searching as hard as they can to apprehend the suspect.
We're so grateful for the tireless effort of law enforcement, not just to assist with the investigation, but to help all of us feel safe in our home.
We want to make sure that all Rhode Islanders know that everything that is physically possible is being done, and partnering in with our federal, the FBI, our state law enforcement, and also the local law enforcement to bring an individual and identify and bring that person to justice.
I want to remind you that this is a very active investigation, very complex investigation, and there's no one that wants to put this individual in handcuffs than us.
As the officials ask the public to check doorbell cameras and other devices for potentially helpful digital evidence, a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest now active. Providence Mayor Brett Smiley continuing to assert residents are safe amid the increased police presence in the city, encouraging parents to send their children back to area schools. Attorney General Peter Nerona, on the other hand, telling CNN the suspect is still considered armed and dangerous as no firearm has been recovered. As reporters and the public grow frustrated with what appears to be a stalling investigation, President Trump defending the FBI's recent track record.
Has Kash Patel told you why it's been so difficult for the FBI to identify who the shooter is?
Well, it's always difficult. So far, we've done a very good job of doing it with Charlie, with, the various times this has happened. They've done it in pretty much record time. But you really have to ask the school a little bit more about that because, this was a school problem. They had their own guards, they had their own police, they had their own everything. But you'd have to ask that question really to the school, not to the FBI. We came in after the fact, and the FBI will do a good job, but they came in after the fact.
Meanwhile, the second victim, who was killed on Saturday, identified as 18-year-old sophomore Muhammad Aziz Umerzakov, his sisters describing their brother as, quote, gentle and extroverted, to the New York Times. A naturalized citizen hailing from Uzbekistan, Umerzakov moving with his family in 2011 to a town outside Richmond, Virginia. Umerzakov reportedly attending Brown with ambitions of becoming a neurosurgeon to help children the way he was helped, with a childhood medical condition relating to his spine. 19-year-old sophomore Ella Cook, the other deceased victim, vice president of the college Republicans, remembered at her Alabama church as a, quote, bright light in the community. Coming up, federal officials busting an alleged New Year's Eve bombing plot planned by a left-wing extremist group operating out of Los Angeles. And former Vice President Kamala Harris and California Governor Gavin Newsom, each with a 2028 twinkle in their eye.
As President Trump is settling into his new administration, one of the top Democrats in Congress aiming to undermine the Trump agenda is Senator Dick Durbin. And according to our sponsor, the Electronic Payments Coalition, Senator Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, Americans have thousands of choices in credit cards, but they say Senator Durbin's plan will result in less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and identity. Learn more at guardyourcard.com and consider telling your senators to stop Dick Durbin's government takeover of your credit card before it's too late.
An alleged New Year's Eve bombing plot foiled by federal investigators in Los Angeles. 4 suspects, belonging to an offshoot of the extremist group Turtle Island Liberation Front, or TILF, arrested in Lucerne Valley, about 2 hours away from Los Angeles, where authorities say they were set to test explosive devices. U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Asaley, announcing the details of the plot at a press conference yesterday morning.
The 4 defendants are Audrey Carroll, 30 years old, Zachary Aaron Page, 32, Dante Gaffield, 24, and Tina Lay, 41, each from the Los Angeles area. Each is charged with conspiracy and possession of an unregistered destructive device in violation of Title 26, United States Code Section 5861D. We intend to file additional charges in the coming weeks as we finish reviewing the evidence. The defendants are all radical anti-government members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, which according to their own social media is an anti-capitalist, anti-government movement that calls for their associates to rise up and fight back against capitalism. One of the leaders of the organization, defendant Audrey Carroll, helped organize an even more radical faction of the group called the Order of the Black Lotus. Each of the defendants charged today was also a member of the Order of the Black Lotus. Carroll described this group to her co-conspirators as everything radical.
According to the federal complaint, Carroll, quote, provided a confidential human source an 8-page, handwritten document titled Operation Midnight Sun that described a bombing plot. The plan involving planting backpacks with improvised explosive devices to be simultaneously detonated at 5 locations targeting 2 companies, set to explode at midnight on New Year's Eve. Assaylee declining to name the companies. Carroll and Page leading the effort, recruiting others to join them, including reportedly an undercover FBI agent. Authorities showing aerial surveillance video of the suspects last Friday in the desert, appearing to prep a testing area for the explosives. The defendants, according to the complaint, were planning to target ICE agents and their vehicles with pipe bombs after the New Year's Eve attack. The suspects set to appear in court for the first time yesterday. The outcome of those appearances not yet clear. Assaylee saying a 5th suspect tied to the group was arrested in New Orleans in connection to a separate plot, that suspect allegedly threatening agents upon execution of a search warrant, leading to his apprehension. Details on that suspect are not immediately clear. Former Vice President and 2024 Democratic presidential contender Kamala Harris reportedly prepping the beginnings of a 2028 campaign as Democrat rivals go knives out against perceived frontrunner California Governor Gavin Newsom. Axios reporting party leaders and donors are worried about a Harris candidacy, despite primary polls showing her at or near the top of the pack. Ms. Harris last week announcing new dates for her book tour promoting 107 days for 2026, including stops in cities with large black voting populations, a key Dem primary voting bloc, including Detroit, Michigan, Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, as well as swing state South Carolina. Over the weekend, the former VP addressing the Democrat National Committee meeting in LA, refining the typical meandering rhetoric into a sharper attack against a failing system and both parties.
And obviously, we must focus on the midterms, but Democrats, we must also have a clear vision for what comes after the midterms and then after Trump. We need to answer the question, what comes next for our party and our democracy? And in so doing, we must be honest that for so many, the American dream has become more of a myth than a reality. Whether it's the cost of food, energy, health care, transportation, or housing, America is facing an affordability crisis. A crisis that we are witnessing is fueling cynicism, fear, frustration, and a lack of confidence in our systems.
Meanwhile, more than 20 Democrat operatives telling Axios California Governor Gavin Newsom is the clear frontrunner. The Real Clear polling average showing Newsom in first at 24.6%. Harris following closely behind at 22.2%. Third place, former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg trailing at 11.2%. Those sources, some of which work for possible 2028 contenders, telling the outlet the 58-year-old governor comes with a lot of exploitable baggage. In 2007, as mayor of San Francisco, Newsom publicly confessing to a prior affair with his campaign manager's wife.
I want to make it clear that everything you've heard and read is true, and I am deeply sorry about that. I've hurt someone I care deeply about, Alex Turk, his friends and family, and that is something that I have to live with and something that I am deeply sorry for. I am also sorry that I've let the people of San Francisco down.
As governor in 2020, Newsom busted having dinner at the fancy French Laundry restaurant as he was telling Californians not to gather for the upcoming holidays amid the COVID pandemic. Newsom appearing to attempt to get ahead of his past by releasing a strategically timed memoir titled Young Man in a Hurry, a memoir of discovery, hitting bookstores in February. Here, a social media promo.
This is not the book you'd expect me to write. It's a story about the people that, for, well, better or worse, make us who we are, made me who I am. The hopes that drive us forward, the failures that send us reeling, and the immense burden of grief and regret. Nobody's family is easy. Nobody's story is tidy, and I'm no different. A lot of people look at me, the stark white shirt, the blue suit, and the gelled hair, and they think, oh, I know this guy. I know this guy better than I'd ever want to know him. I get it. This is a story of a kid who always felt like he wasn't quite enough. This is a truly vulnerable book. It was incredibly hard, even painful to write. It's a story about living between two worlds, one of wealth and privilege and the other of more modest upbringing, the outsider on the inside, the interloper who learned to feel comfortable in many rooms. It's a story of the personas we create to face the world around us, the story of self-doubt and, yes, ambition.
Presidential ambition, that is. The governor telling reporters last week that the memoir may be interpreted as a campaign strategy. Quote, "Look, I'm not an idiot. Everyone's going to see it through a cynical set of eyes. I mean, it's a politician writing a book. Let the 2028 games begin." That'll do it for your AM Update. I'm Emily Jashinsky, host of After Party. Catch The Megyn Kelly Show live on SiriusXM's The Megyn Kelly Channel 111 at noon East on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly and all podcast platforms.